Well, I started doing traditional music in 2004, 2005 because I for the first time I find a way to do it in a new way, so to speak. I found what I want to say with it, and it was for me kind of unremarkable. It would be for me unremarkable if I would be just repeating what earlier generations of Sevdah singers did. I wanted to do something different in terms of everything: harmony, melody, arrangements, maybe even new topics for the music, social context maybe also in which it was performed. So it was interesting for me to do something new with it. That's why I started doing it. Yes, actually every historical period, usually in case of Sevdah music, which is concentrated in and around Bosnia and Herzegovina, today's Bosnia and Herzegovina, you have some strictly, you have historical periods that were divided by demarcation lines that were wars. So we are talking about the pre-First World War era, about the war between, about the period between two world wars, about the period after the Second World War, and many times also these cultural genres and this cultural scene changed because of the war, and many times new ideologies, sometimes even new states, new countries came into being, and some aspects of earlier developments were cut off, so like, I don't know, there were many things in socialism that were kind of prescribed to be talked about because they happened before the Second World War. They happened in the period of Kingdom of Yugoslavia, and then also in Kingdom of Yugoslavia, many things that happened before First World War were kind of prescribed. And today you have people who are trying, to kind of paint some new pictures of the music and the whole cultural field, just because you have new political and other strengths around the cultural field, also music. So but it's a common theme, I think, everywhere it happens. Well, the first thing for foreign audiences who don't understand the lyrics, I think, is the experience of music and the performance, because they don't get to understand instantly what the lyrics is. I mean, during the performance, of course, whoever wants, they can go to internet or have our CD, and in a CD we have, especially in the last CD, we have really well translated Sevdah poetry for them. But, during the performance, you're actually listening to the music, listening to the performer, and you're experiencing it. So it's the same like in former Yugoslavia. Also, people are listening to tango, to fado, to flamenco, to, I don't know, many other kinds of music without understanding the lyrics instantly, And so it has to function as good music, regardless of what you're singing about. That's one interesting thing. And that's why sometimes some local genres that are strongly leaning onto the words, onto the poetry, they fail to maybe communicate internationally. We are really lucky, and not only myself but also other younger performers of the genre, that we have this international scene opened up for us. I mean, I recorded some 6 albums now, the last of them being for internationally renowned Glitter Beat Records. We played a tour throughout the world. We were in China, I was in Japan, India, Mexico, United States, all over Europe. So it's interesting how there's this channel of communication open, and the next level would be if people would, and I know people who started learning Bosnian among other things because of the music. I did receive some beautiful fan email when people are saying that they are learning Bosnian or Serbian or Croatian, which is basically the same language, through my music, or not only through my music, but through Sevdah songs in general. I think that's a really beautiful thing. Well, at the beginning I was quite timid about it. I was, playing music, starting off my musical career, playing concerts, and I just started, so I didn't have actually this urge to teach because I didn't think I had anything important to say. I was researching and I was learning about the music only because I loved it, and because I was meeting these, as I call them, old masters, because I was trying to learn songs from them, learn ways of singing, interpretation, everything. And at some point, actually, I was invited by a friend of mine, a musician from Sarajevo who lives in London, to give a workshop to people who attended his musical course on, I think, production or something like that. And I did it, and I spoke about Sevdah, and I didn't, to be honest, even prepare that much. It was just, more like a Q&A session. I tried to show them what is there in this music. And it was really cool. I felt great. I felt that I had something to say. Questions were great. People were really satisfied with what they learned, with this perspective. And then it struck me like, wow, this is something new. What I used to learn, what I used to research, just with the idea of using it for my own, musical arrangements and everything, is actually could be of importance to other people. Or sometimes people might understand this music better and become better fans of this music, or love it more and understand it more if they know what's happening behind it, what used to be happening behind it. That's how I started the Sevdah Club, with lectures, presentations, workshops. Sometimes it's practical workshops. I teach people to sing. I had several students. Now, for the last couple of years, I kind of stopped that because I was touring a lot and recording. Then I did this huge, out of this process also, I did this big exhibition, multimedia exhibition on Sevdah in Sarajevo in 2015, where I tried to show what is there historically, how it developed, and then how it was called Sevdah, the Art of Freedom. And we did it with the help of Prince Claus Foundation here from Netherlands. And they were really helpful in this process of going into archives and trying to search for new old stories. And kind of the end of this process was this book on history of Sevdah, the Sevdah that I wrote, and came out in 2016. And it kind of proved to be one of the really successful things I did, and I'm really proud of it. We already have two second issue in Bosnian and first issue in English, and I keep teaching whenever they invite me. I did speak on this music and the Balkan traditions in many different universities. Sometimes, as I say, it's just lectures, sometimes it's more like a workshop. And yeah, that's it basically. I mean, my first job is still performance, that's what I do. But there's obviously a lack of this knowledge about this music and about these things. So like, I'm happy that I get invited a lot